May I?
All right, we are live.
Good morning, one and all, and fellow marketeers and SEO marketeers and agencies. Welcome to the John Limbacher's Thursday morning show. Take it away, Johnny.
Somebody's had too much coffee.
Oh yeah. Hey, there's Mr. Porter back. Welcome back,
I'm
Richard.
back. I have a quick question, maybe before we get going here.
Sure, absolutely.
Edwin Steen just popped up. That's my son.
Okay.
He's going to be doing some project management and stuff for me. So I also just signed up last night for the reseller program. Do I need to have him get his own? Do I need to get him a membership to be able to be on these calls, or can he coattail me?
No, if he's part of your team, he's good to go.
Perfect.
So no problem. You can have any team members. No problem at all with that.
Glad to hear it. One quick question. I was looking, back in February, you did about an hour and a half long presentation of all the stuff you've got in the resellers area. And that's one of the things I showed to my son here so that he kind of get up to speed quickly. On the debounce tool, though, I understand how it works and why it works. What tool will tell us what the bounce rate is on any given website? Is that the SEM Rush, or is that some other tool?
No, SEM Rush, I don't think they have bounce rate in there. Usually where most people find their bounce rate is through Google Analytics, or there's another site called SimilarWeb, and I'm pretty sure that SimilarWeb will give you the bounce rate. I don't know how it gets it, but I think they keep track of that on a whole bunch of sites. So if your site doesn't have much traffic, or it's new or fresh or something like that, it's probably not going to have any data in SimilarWeb yet. I'm not really sure what the trigger is to start tracking in SimilarWeb, but some sites are in there, no problem, and others I haven't found in there yet. And so anyway, it's a couple of resources. But for your own sites, definitely you can put Google Analytics on there, and that'll give you your bounce rate.
Okay, I was thinking about it because you were talking about the SSL link breaker and one other tool in there. I'm having a senior moment here. Used for prospecting, and I was just wondering how you use those for prospecting if I can't stand in front of a room like you do.
Gotcha.
My thought was to put together a little mini report and cold contact people with a mini report saying, here's where you are. Would you like to know what it means and how to do it better? That's the best bright idea I've got right now, but I'm looking for all the ideas I can come up with on how to cold prospect on people in a way that's not going to piss them off. In fact, get them interested.
Sure, absolutely. And there's several different pieces of software out there that do that. They'll do prospecting for you. And what they can do is you can put in like a keyword and a locality. And what it'll do, it'll go out and it will scour basically Google, looking either for search results or Google My Business accounts. And it will come back with a report for you showing who's got what. And then what you can do is you can target the ones that are missing things. And you can send a cold email out to them that said, hey, I just noticed your site wasn't secure, or I just noticed that your site is not ADA compliant. And we could run a more detailed report and tell you exactly how to fix it if you've got an in-house team, or we can give you resources to get that fixed. And then you can have them schedule an appointment. I was just talking to Jim about this yesterday. When you do that, you don't want to just send them the report, because what will happen is you'll get, everybody will say, oh yeah, just send me the report. Well, what that's like in the real world of like cold calling is the same thing as cold email. It's just an electronic version. And a lot of times when you're cold calling somebody, they just want to get you off the phone, or maybe they want to see it, but they don't really want to talk to you. So
or they're sorting for people that give away free things and no doesn't want to pay for anything.
yeah, exactly. They'll say, send me a brochure. So
Yeah.
in the cold call market, that's send me a brochure. And I remember this goes back probably over 20 years ago. I had a t-shirt company, and I actually had my own boiler room. And we had 3 guys. I had 1 guy that was running the team, and I had 3 guys on the phones calling. And basically it was crazy. My guy that was running the room, he would tell the 3 guys, he said, look, there's a contest this week. One of you that gets the most sales is going to get, whatever it was, a bonus, a cash bonus. And the one that gets the least sales is going to get replaced. And it's like, wow, that's aggressive, but it actually worked. But the guy that was running the room, he was a really hot shot sales guy. And I would listen to him train the new guy, and he'd get on the phone. And if somebody asked for a brochure, he would blow them off like nobody's business. He'd say, well, why don't I just send you a box if you want wallpaper? He would really cut through the objection. And it used to just make my skin crawl because, for me, if he would have called me with that kind of an approach, I'd have just hung up on him. I just don't resonate with that kind of pressure sales. But what was interesting to me was I'm not the norm. And most people, they kind of laugh, they get a chuckle. It's almost like an icebreaker joke that bonds them more. And they're like, well, yeah, I didn't really want a brochure. And he's like, I know you didn't. Let's make you some money. These things sell. They're like hotcakes. All you need to do is put them on your display rack in front of people at your counter, and they're going to sell. You're going to make money, and everybody's going to be happy. And boom, the guy would close a sale. I'm like, holy shit. No wonder I sucked at a sales job.
I actually like that approach. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah. This guy, it seriously made my skin crawl to even listen to him. Sometimes I couldn't even be in the same room because I just wanted to crawl under the desk when I would hear some of the stuff he would say to these people. But he was incredibly effective. He was dealing with Walmart. He actually got our shirts into Walmart, and we had the Southeast, but we weren't in their main distribution chain. We had to sell directly to each store. So he was going down the list, calling each store manager, and he got a hold of this woman, and she had no interest in putting our stuff in. And she gave him some excuse. And he said, I forget what her name was, but let's just say it was Sally. He said, Sally, do you have a window in your office? And he's like, is it close to you? Do you have will your phone reach it? He's like, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get up from your desk, take the phone with you, walk over to the window. Tell me when you're there. And I'm just like, oh God, where's he going with this? And he's like, you're looking out the window? He goes, tell me, do you see any dinosaurs out there? And I was just like, oh my God, he's going to get us kicked out of Walmart. And again, it was an icebreaker. What he was doing, he was highly trained in this kind of stuff because he sold in the stock market industry. But it was amazing to me that stuff actually worked. It's like,
remember your presentation about NLP for site pop? That's called a pattern interrupt. That's why it's so effective.
Yeah, exactly. He had it down. Myself, I could never pull that kind of stuff off. I am not that guy. But I don't know where I was going with that. I just wanted to throw that out.
What did Sally do?
What's that?
What did Sally do? What was the end result?
Sally bought 4 cases of shirts and put them in the store, sold the crap out of them, and kept ordering them every week. That was the outcome. In fact, she sent messages up to corporate of how good the stuff sold. And she was one of the key elements that got us into the entire Southeast, into Walmart. So
dinosaurs.
yeah. You see any dinosaurs out there? He goes, we're in the 20th century now. This is how things work. But he was basically just telling her that, she had an objection. Her objection was she didn't think they would sell. And he just addressed the objection, told him people want these, we're not working in the dinosaur ages. This is what they want today. And, if you don't put them in, somebody down the street's going to put them in and they're going to take your customers. So she tried him out, found out he was right, and she sold the crap out of those things. So, the whole not taking no for an answer, it's, if you're a salesperson and you're working on commission, you can make a lot of money if you know the ropes. Now,
John, I've always said, no just means not now.
Yeah, well, no, generally, like in the ACT program, the way I'm teaching ACT is whenever there's an objection, it's a no, right? But it's generally because they didn't understand something. Mm-hmm. Either they didn't understand, why they needed it, or you didn't explain the value properly or whatever. So you have to go back to your sales process and you've got to adjust the mechanism. And everybody has a different personality. Everybody has a different way. I do sales perfectly fine. Now that I know what I'm doing and all that, I can do sales perfectly fine without the whole dinosaur thing. That's not my personality. I could never pull that off. That would just make me crawl right out of my skin if I had to do that. But I admire those that can. I mean, I truly admire. That is a skill. It's a communication skill. My brother was really good at it. He was really abrasive because he was so large. He was very overweight. I didn't know back then. I was young. I didn't really know what he was doing, but he was doing NLP, and it was a pattern interrupt, just like what you're saying. And when someone would meet him for the first time, it was kind of shocking because of his size. And he would say something, even if it was a woman, he would say something so disgusting. It blew my mind that they didn't run out of the room. But what it did, it took the shock off of him, and it put the shock onto an external source. And now I can totally see why he did it. It was a self-preservation thing, because he wanted to break down the barrier of that shock of, oh my God, look at that guy. And it worked. It worked incredibly well for him. He was, one of the best sales people I know. He could open up conversations with people, but it would always start with something just totally outlandish. I mean, in some cases, something so disgusting that if you or I said it to a woman, they'd never even look at us again. They'd run. And he got away with it.
Well, when I was face to face with people in sales situations, one of the favorite, do you smell popcorn? That was one of my favorites. And it completely throws them off, and it's not quite so out of the box, but
yeah,
it does shake them loose, because the objection is never, an objection isn't even necessarily a no. It's just a go away. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, it's a redirection, basically, is what it is. Like, I used to get into a lot of trade shows for free using a common redirection. I wouldn't go to the front door where everyone else was entering the trade show. I would go around to the side door or the back door where the vendors came in, and there'd always be a security guard there. And I would walk straight up, like I wasn't even paying attention to the security guard, just like I was going to pass right by him, walking right toward the door with intent. And as soon as I saw him make a move, like shift his body weight toward me, like to ask me for a badge or something, at that point, I would just look him in the eye and ask him for directions. I would say, oh, do you know what row so-and-so booth is on? And he would give me the answer and point me in the right direction. Never even ask me for any credentials. Every time. I did that for over a decade at multiple shows. It never failed.
I got Wait to do that, John. I'm going to try that.
It is awesome. You have to walk with intent, like you're going somewhere and you're in a hurry. And as soon as they step towards you, you just look them right in the eye and ask them for directions.
I did the same thing for a Grammys after party.
Yeah.
Flew in, 2 girls on my arm. We walked in and says, "Oh, there's so and so. Let's go talk to him." And we just walked right through.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really incredible, and it's a total NLP thing. It's a, some people call it a pattern interrupt. It's basically a redirection, because the guy, his focus was to ask for your badge, which is what he's supposed to do. And when you redirect him, you redirect his purpose. Now his purpose is not to check your badge. His purpose is to give you directions, because you gave him that subconscious action to do. And actually, it was a conscious action you drove right through.
Well, circle back around to the sales aspect. What in that presentation I was referring to that you did, you said that you were going back through your stuff to make sure it all still worked, because you got questions of, are you using this stuff? And you realized, no, I'm not using it. So you started going back and using it. How were you using those things to go out and prospect? What does your prospecting program look like if you're going to be going out?
Well, what you were specifically referring to that conversation I had was at the end of last year. I got questioned of, there was several people asking me if my technique still worked. They're like, you're not doing a lot of the stuff that you're telling us to do. And they were just asking me honestly, how do you know it still works? And I'm like, well, shit, I started second guessing myself. I'm like, well, maybe I better start practicing what I preach. So at the end of last year, I made a commitment to the group here of, hey, I'm going to I don't want to say come out of retirement, because that's kind of cheesy, but that's what I committed to. I said, look, I'm going to go back and I'm going to put this stuff back in action. And I'm actually going to put a focused effort toward growing my business using all the stuff I talk about. And well, let's see how it works. Well, the outcome, for those of you that were in here, you watched me do it. Last year was probably my best year in business, just because I just started picking up doing what I'm telling everybody to do. And yes, the answer is it definitely still works. There's no doubt about it at this point. Now, what works for different businesses is going to be different. Your traffic sources, like when you look at the ACT program, that process, that protocol, that has been working in the ad agency business for over 100 years. It's not going to stop working, not anytime soon. And the whole premise to it is analysis is figure out what somebody wants and why they want it, so you can tap into their emotion and sell it to them. That's the A part of ACT. The creation part is to create an ad campaign based on that information that you got out of analysis. So now you can communicate, you can create the process. Any business that's successful has a sales process, whether they know it or not. It's a script, so to speak. Some people don't have the script written down, they just have it in their head. They do it naturally. But nonetheless, it's a script, no matter how you slice it. They have a sales process, they have a script. And if they're successful, it works. The next thing is the T, the traffic portion. That is going back to analysis and going back to refocus on who it is that wants what you're selling. And the traffic part is figuring out, where are they? You don't go to a street corner where they're not and put your sign up. You've got to put it up where they are. I use the analogy of fishing. I don't go out in the ocean and fish where the fish are not, because that truly is fishing, and I hate fishing. For those of you that know me, I like catching. I don't like to go for a boat ride, just, and come back and everybody says, oh, what'd you catch? And I'm like, a cold. I don't like that. I don't like that answer to be presented at the end of my trip. or what'd you catch? A sunburn. That, you know, I want to tell them what I put in the, you know, in the fish hold, what's going in my freezer, what we're eating tonight. You know, to me, that's a success. That's a successful fishing trip. So I do my intel, I do my analysis, I figure out where those fish are and I go there. The same thing with sales. You know, your sales are your fish. How many are you going to catch? Are you going to do your analysis? Are you going to figure out where they are, and not only where they are, but what they're eating? Like, I have commercial guys that I'm in contact with, and before I go fishing, I'll give them a call. And my common question for them is, did you split the bellies? And what that means is when they catch fish, every once in a while, they'll cut the bellies open to see what they were eating. And they do that to pass it on to the fishermen, the sport fishing guys, because I know if the fish are eating squid, which is like candy to them, if there's squid in the water and they're eating the squid and I show up with anchovies are great if there's no squid on the menu. So if there's squid on the menu and I show up with anchovies, guess what? I'm going to just get frustrated. And that's the same thing as showing up with an offer that your people are not interested in, or you haven't figured out why they want it yet. You're going to be fishing, not catching. So there's a lot of similarity to why this works. It works on the ocean. It works in your business the same way. So you've got to figure out what they want, why they want it, figure out how to present that to them, and then figure out where they are to make that presentation. And so, yeah, it works. It works really well.
Can I dovetail on that? Because that was part of my question and it seems to fit in line.
Sure.
Okay, so I play a little game. I'm not a gamer, but I've been playing it for a couple of years. Farm Heroes Saga, right?
Okay.
And then because of that, and they don't really have too many in-app advertising, it's just purchases. But then I started to play a trivia game, whatever. So I don't remember where okay, let me stop and try to. So there are things that you do in a game and they're free unless you pay for no ads, right? So the way they make their money is through ads. At the beginning, I would see ads for other games. Well, I would never press on them because I don't want to play any other games. And then one day I bought, I guess, something either on Facebook or maybe I bought through a game for $7, some opt-in templates or something.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, now they know I'm into business. So now all of the things that come on in my games are all about, lead sheets and this, and it's starting to realize what Lisa likes. So for Richard, it does it for you. It finds your audience based on one click that they did. So my question is this: I'm an Android user, and obviously when I pay through Google Pay. The question I have for you is, I want to start paying for traffic, paying for ads, because all of my organic social media shit I've been paying now for a couple months, isn't doing crap. I'm not getting new leads. I'm not building my list. And I would rather take the money that I'm paying for somebody to do those posts for me and do some, I guess, targeted ads. Is that done through, how does it all work? Is it done through Google? And by the way, when I used to think Google ads, I used to just think computer. If I do it on Google, do they decide that I'm going to go in a gaming app?
Well, it depends. So here's the deal with, and where you're taking us is a great place, because this is like for everybody. This has to do with traffic, and it has to do with how to find the right traffic. Like,
because they're cold leads.
Yeah, they're cold leads, but there's a big difference between cold leads that are targeted and just cold leads that are junk.
Right.
Like, I see so many people that will create Facebook ads and they'll just make the targeting everybody. And it's like, that's crazy. That's going to be really expensive. Or they go to Google and they use generic keywords. And that's going to be crazy expensive, and it's not going to be very effective. Figuring out like the exact person who wants your product. Like I did the same thing as you did. I didn't buy a game, but somehow big data figured out that I now have a new boat.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see stuff like I'll log into Facebook and this really cool thing came on of boat shirts, you know, that have cool fish on them and you can put the name of the boat on. They'll customize it. So I'm like, awesome. That's sweet. I bought a couple of shirts, you know, for the boat. And oh my God, in the next month, I have been hit with probably 20 shirt companies that do custom logos for boats. And every one, it's like, I see another one. It's like even better than the last one. I'm like, holy shit. You would not believe how much money they've extracted out of me for boat shirts now.
So now we want to tap in from that end. I want to tap in from that end.
Yeah. So that's referred to as big data. Big data is like a collective source of information about what consumers purchase.
Mm-hmm.
And or not just purchase, what they look at, what their intent is. Like, I don't know how they figured out that I got a new boat. I have no idea how they figured that out. Probably from stuff I was looking at online. Anyway, the big data collected that information. They sold it into Facebook advertisers, and the Facebook advertisers were then able to target me. They figured out that I was a fish and I was swimming in a particular pond, and they threw their bait at me and they hooked me.
Is big data a company?
No, big data, there's a lot of big data companies, and what they do, like Facebook itself is a big data company. Google itself is a big data company. American Express is a big data company. And, you know, there's a ton of them, Visa, MasterCard, basically anybody that has connection with consumer information or access to see what people are doing online or in the real world, collecting that data, that's a big data source. A lot of them are connected together. A lot of them share information. And so big data, think of it more as a concept. It's a pool of information out there that you can tap into to figure out who is right for your offers.
So John, that being the case, you know, like Big Brother, how do I specifically get into gaming apps? That's what I want. I want to be on those apps where you're in the middle of the game and then it stops and you have to watch an ad for 30 seconds.
Gotcha. So
now it will eventually, you know, get through the algorithm, through big data, the right ad to the right person because they at least clicked on it and looked and didn't buy or whatever. But how do I advertise specifically there? Do you know?
Yes, I do. So Google has their AdWords platform. Inside their AdWords platform, they have multiple choices for where you can put your ads. The ads that you're referring to are called display ads. They're not search ads. They're called display ads.
Okay.
So display ads are the ones that tap into the apps and things like that. So you can set up a campaign for display ads and you can target specific apps. Like if there's a particular app where you know your customers are all using that app, you can say, I would like to place my ads in this app specifically.
Okay, that's good.
And like on YouTube, they have the same thing with YouTube. You can target specific YouTube videos. Like let's say you go onto YouTube and there's a video that's super hot in your niche and there's 1 million views on it and 10,000 a day are watching this video. You can go into Google and you can say, I'd like to run a video ad on YouTube and I want to target this specific video. So your video ad would overlay. So they have to watch your video ad before that other video comes up.
But they can click off in 4 seconds, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
they can. So there's a couple of things to that are really good. If you want to do free branding, you don't pay if they click off. Did you know that?
Wait a minute. What do you mean by that? Free branding. I don't
know. Okay. So just like what you said, they can click off after 4 seconds or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. If they do that, you do not pay for that ad.
Oh, gotcha.
So if you show your logo for 4 seconds and they click off, you just got free branding to your logo.
All right.
So that's a little trick. They don't like you doing that particularly, but you can. Like the first thing in your ad should introduce who you are, so you get that brand thing and then go right into it. Because remember, the object really isn't to brand, the object is to sell.
Right.
So you're trying to get them to click and take an action before they get to that other video they really want.
So that's okay. So that
time frame.
That now tells me why when I'm playing my little game, some ads will come up and I can click off of it right away.
Yes.
And then some of them I have to watch for 30 seconds. You can't click off.
Correct.
Because they've chosen either.
They've probably paid a lot more.
They paid a lot more. And would you think, and now Facebook aside, because this isn't Facebook, but this is through Google on these games, these display ads. So display ads show up on games only or in wherever?
Display ads actually display on any website that runs display ads. Like there is a gazillion places out there that will run display ads. Like there's a guy in the construction industry, he's called Bob the Builder.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, remember Tim the Toolman Taylor on Tool Time? It's like that guy for real in the real world, Bob the Builder. And Bob the Builder makes a shitload of money by displaying ads. He doesn't sell stuff. He gives you good information on how to do things yourself in your home for home improvement. And then wherever he's doing a home improvement on like plumbing, here's display ads showing on where to buy your parts for that.
And so you don't get to choose really where they go. If you choose display ads, you could be on a website, you could be in a game, you could be anywhere, right?
You can choose, or you can run shotgun style.
Okay.
The people that make a lot of money in paid ads, they're not running shotgun style. They're doing research, they're targeting. There's tools. Every once in a while, I'll see a tool that comes out where you can do this kind of research. Like there's tools for YouTube specifically that you put a keyword in, and they will show you all the hot videos that you could put your ad on top of. And then you just take that data, you load it into Google's ad campaign, and bang, you got a campaign. The same thing for Facebook.
I want to do this. I can't learn it myself. I've got like 17 things that I am learning. I can't add any more to my plate. So who can I talk to? You? Who do you know? That somebody can not necessarily do it for me, but work with me maybe for 1 hour and go boom, 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 click the buttons. Like, where are the buttons? My biggest thing is I don't know where the buttons are. I've never been into Google AdWords. Is there anybody here that could help me with that? And
here's what I know about it. There's a lot of buttons that could be clicked. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. And there's a pretty large learning curve to this particular game.
Yeah.
I'm the same as you. I didn't want to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a couple of people on my team because I have a lot of people, a lot of my commercial clients, they want this stuff done.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, hell no, I don't want to do it. But I also don't want to turn them away because if I send them somewhere else, then that person is going to offer them all the other stuff that I do.
Gotcha.
So I've put a team together that actually does this stuff. They do it really well. I don't know how to do it, like to train you to do it, but if you want it done, they can do it for you. The thing is, it's a minimum to run any kind of a paid ad campaign through my team. It's a minimum of $500 a month for the management, where they set it up, they manage it, all that. And then you've got the ad buys on top of that. So that might be kind of a big pill to swallow getting started.
Does it, so if you paid that, would you get results in a month? That's my question. Because like I've been paying $500 a month for the social media team, and I'm going into my 3rd month, and it's goose egg.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, here, the honest truth in any paid ad campaign or any kind of an SEO campaign is it takes time to get it sorted out. It takes time to set it up, run the initial ads, look at the test results, and then tweak it. I would plan on probably 2 or 3 months before you're really hitting your stride, and then you can scale up. So usually what we do is we run a low ad campaign, a low budget on the actual ads for the first month, just to kind of get the bearings. So you're not, blowing a ton of money. And then after the first test results come in, then you scale up the ad spend on the second month. And then the third month, usually you're in a pretty good direction. But I can tell you, doing what you're doing in the social media space, your goose egg is not going to expand. You can't multiply 0.
I know. It's like literally not working. So I'm having that conversation today.
Yeah, because what they do, they all think they're doing good, and they're making your social media presence look great.
Yeah,
but,
it's pretty, but who cares?
Yeah, it's pretty. But here's the reality, and nobody can dispute this. When somebody posts social media for you in your social media channels, the only people that are seeing it are the people that are your friends. Right? They're not going to buy your shit.
They're doing my business page. Well, here's the thing. They're doing my business page, which has 15,000 followers, and the reach is only like 166.
Yeah.
That are seeing it.
It's
and out of them,
small.
Nobody's taking action to do anything.
Yeah.
So
it's people you already have on your list.
Yeah.
So you're trying to grow from such a small pool that the math is never going to work out.
Okay, so pay to play it is. I will talk to you offline about this and turn it over to somebody else with a question. Thank you.
John, I have a question in the opposite direction on getting organic traffic.
Okay.
How does that work, like with the retargeting, like what I'm doing on social media? Mm-hmm. So like I'm talking every day just about like taxes and how to get organized, and I'm putting it on YouTube. And I am getting some traction.
Okay, so with retargeting,
I don't know how.
here's a way that you can create your own big data, and it's called retargeting. What retargeting is when you get traffic, like when you do a social media post, or you get on Google, or you send out a press release, or you do a podcast, or whatever you do to drive traffic to your pages. You can put a little code on there. It's a snippet of code for retargeting purposes. They call it a pixel. It's just a little piece of code that's called a pixel. So when you put, like, Google has a pixel, Facebook has a pixel, there's a whole bunch of ad companies that have pixels that can run display ads for you. What the pixel does is it collects data. It's your big data. So what it does is it takes somebody that comes to a page and it logs information about them. The reason that you want that is so later on you can go to the ad company and you could say, hey, I want to tap into your display ad network, and I want you to display these ads on the entire network of sites that display ads. Only when the people that have been on my page show up on one of your pages, I want the ad to display.
Oh, wow.
That's called retargeting. So you'll notice, like, you look at a pair of blue suede shoes, and then you go to CNN and there's the blue suede shoes. They're following you. It's because CNN is part of the ad network. They are one of the advertisers that display the display ad network. They make up the display ad network. There's millions of websites out there that put display ads on there as additional revenue sources.
So now that information, doesn't that tell me more about my avatar?
Well, what it can do is when you get into the display ad network and you're setting up your ads, just like you go into Google and you tell them where you want the ads to display and to who and all that, what you can do with your own big data is you can say, I only want to display this ad to people that were on my site that clicked on a link. Or I only want to display this ad to people that were on my site for more than 30 seconds. I don't want the people that hit and left and they weren't interested. I don't want to waste my money on them. So you can use the big data to your advantage to only spend your ad money on the exact target that you want. The other thing you can do is, let's say you've got 3 products. You can collect the data for which product they landed on, and you can display only to those people this particular product. So that's a game changer.
Wow.
You don't want to just display ads generically to anybody that goes on your site. You want to display the right ads to the right people based on actions they took on your site.
So I think I'm at the point where you told me, like, once you got like, so now I know how much a new client is worth to me.
Mm-hmm.
I got it down. Now all I got to do is figure out how much is it going to cost me to get these new clients. It just becomes math.
It's math. And here's something that I want everybody to know this and take advantage of this. Whether you are ready to buy ads or not, you should be putting these pixels on your site right now to start collecting that data. It's like not having an opt-in box on your site to collect leads. So let's say you're not ready to run ads for a year. If you put those pixels on today, you'll have a year's worth of data collected when you're ready to run your ads. You'll already have a list built.
You put the pixels actually on your website.
How do we do that?
Put the pixels on and let them start collecting that data.
Ow.
Okay, that's simple.
Yeah,
Ow.
yeah. So here's some places where you can get the pixels. Facebook is one. You can get a Facebook retargeting pixel. You can paste that. Like if you use WordPress, there's a plugin, a free plugin called Global Headers and Footers. And you can put the pixel in the global header, so it's on every page of your site with one action. So you don't have to go to every page and do this. You just put it in the global header. You can go to Google and you can create a Google retargeting pixel. You want to put that one on too. You can have as many pixels as you want. You don't have to just choose one. So I would at the very least, I would do the Google pixel. I would do the Facebook pixel. And I would do another one called AdRoll. It's adroll.com. And you can create, and they're all free. There's no cost to setting these accounts up and getting these pixels. The only cost is when you actually want to run ads, when you're ready. But put the pixels on as soon as you can so it starts collecting that data.
So where's that data collected? Is it collected in Google, collected in Facebook?
Correct.
And so it's stored there for that when we want to advertise with Facebook and Google.
Correct.
Great.
That is correct. So let's say
you never told me this before.
I have said this.
There's too much information.
It's like the teacher shows up when the student's ready, right? I've been here all along. I've not just started doing this.
John, and one of the things that really stuck with me in that presentation you did a year ago is you had a resource on there. I can't remember the name of it. There was over 40 resources you pointed out in that presentation. So forgive me if I don't remember it. But you had one, you said, rather than buying clicks or rather than buying views or all those other things, why don't you buy clients? You had this one resource on there that for 20 cents a piece, they would send you, I assume, qualified leads somehow. I don't know how they would qualify them, but could you fill in a little bit more on that particular resource?
Correct. And I am right alongside you there with, I don't remember what the name of it was.
I'll look it up.
It's not one of the ones that I've personally used, but I know some people that have used it and been very successful with it. And here's the thing, like I've said this over and over, the resources and the access to stuff that I have, I don't use it all, but the only stuff I'll bring to you is the stuff that I know is good. If I were to use everything that I tell you guys about, I would be a gazillionaire, but I'm just too freaking lazy. That's my biggest problem. I am so comfortable in what I do that I have no real desire to be aggressive.
Opt intelligence.
Opt intelligence. Yes, that's correct. That's the one. So
do they qualify the leads and stuff they send you in some fashion, or how what's a little bit more of the details on it, or do you know?
You know, I don't really remember the details, but I remember when I went through the training and stuff, it was pretty phenomenal. So it might be something you want to take a look at as a source of traffic.
Perfect. Thank you.
But I do know quite a bit about the retargeting game. I've been doing that one. I've been doing it actually for clients as well. Works incredibly well. Here's a case study for a client we were doing in the commerce arena. They were selling diesel components, like aftermarket products for diesel trucks for the most part. Pretty specific, but they've got like 2,000 different SKU numbers, 2,000 different products in their commerce store. So we were doing retargeting generically. Anybody that came and looked at whatever product, we would just send them generic retargeting ads. It wound up being, not effective. And retargeting is cheap no matter how you slice it, but it was expensive retargeting what we were doing because we weren't doing it well. When we used a company called Steelhouse, and AdRoll does this now, but Steelhouse at the time was the only company that was doing this. They would allow you to target based on the actual page. And like I said, AdRoll will do this now, but Steelhouse, at the time, you had to have a $10,000 a month ad budget to use Steelhouse. Well, we had that with this particular client, so I used them, and the results were absolutely unreal. We went from like 20 grand a month in sales to $250,000 a month in sales. It was crazy because we were displaying ads based on what they landed on. Like if somebody looked at a diesel exhaust system for a Ford, we were hitting them with ads for that same diesel exhaust system from Ford if they didn't buy it. And the sales just went through the roof. So doing it right, doing it well, you can do very well with that.
The one thing in the retargeting game that to me sounded the ultimate game changer is that geo-targeting program you were talking about. That to me sounds like, I don't know how you'd beat that if you have a way of identifying where your people physically might go at some point, and then retargeting basing on the fact that they went somewhere in the real world. That's just breathtaking. Yeah,
that for those of you that don't know, that's a product that my company offers called crowd targeting. And it's a very advanced form of retargeting. I remember I mentioned this in Craig's group of, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And everybody looked at me and Craig was like, what is he smoking? He had no idea what I was talking about. But the premise of it is using, it's our own big data collection. We've tapped into a big data company that is selling us data to do this. So what we do is we will geo-fence a location. For instance, like a trade show. Let's say Anaheim Convention Center, for instance. And we'll target a particular date of when a trade show is going on, like the woodworking show, for instance. The woodworking show is in the Anaheim Convention Center. So we'll geo-rope the parking lot for 3 days when that show's going on. And every cell phone that comes into that parking lot in that 3-day period, we're grabbing the unique ID of the cell phone. We're matching that up with a big data source to find out what other computers that user has. And then we follow them home with ads.
Wow.
This sounds like Secret Service, FBI stuff.
We've had a couple of countries want to buy this from us for that. And we haven't sold it. It's like, you can't get the shit back in the horse. So we got to be careful what we do with this. But it's incredibly effective. Like imagine if you were a local pizzeria and you were opening up and you didn't have any clientele, but you needed to get the word out for your pizzeria. What we could do is like say 90 days prior to you opening, what we could do is we could geo-target all the local pizzerias around you and we could grab every person that came into their doors. And when you open, we can now flood all of those people with your offer to come to your grand opening. That's pretty phenomenal to be able to do that. There's no big data source out there that I know of that has that capability. So we built it.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
So if I'm grabbing this the right way, you use the Anaheim convention. I used to go to the car shows in LA. So
Mhm.
you're saying that if you were to grab the area around the car show, and if you were a parts dealer or something like that, you could do the same kind of thing
Yep.
and target people who are there looking at cars and parts and whatever.
Exactly. And we can even cross-reference the data with other stuff. Like we can tell if it's a male or a female. We can tell what kind of car they drive because of big data, because we're already tapped into the big data feed.
So how does so how would something like that work on a smaller scale? I mean, is it based on you have to be a large scale person or business that would use this, or can a smaller entrepreneur use this, and is it cost effective? I mean, how would we use it?
Well, it's highly cost effective. And because we're a small outfit, we don't have like, big buy ad spend requirements. Here's the other thing. This is across the board with any retargeting or any kind of display ad networks. The cost per viewer is incredibly cheap. You do it on a CPM basis. So it's a cost per mil, which is 1,000. And on like when we do retargeting through our crowd targeting, the average cost of traffic is roughly $10 to $15 per thousand. So your ad is going to display 1,000 times, and when it hits the clicker on 1,000, then you get charged the 10 or 15 bucks or whatever it is for that particular thing. It's pretty cheap. When you cross that up with being so specific, that is where the effectiveness comes in. So you have effective, both effective wise and also cost effective wise. It's like the perfect storm, combining big data, combining geolocation, and combining the low cost of the display ad network to actually deliver the ads.
All you need to be able to do then is find a place in physical reality where numbers of your potential prospects show up.
Correct.
This face, I think she's about melting down here. She's really into this. Yeah,
Correct.
that sounds amazing.
I mean, here's something that we did for a steakhouse. There was a steakhouse in Dallas that was having trouble getting kitchen staff. That was their problem. They didn't want customers. They had plenty of customers. They were having trouble with staffing. So what we did was we took the steakhouses within a 5-mile radius, which there's a lot of steakhouses in Dallas. So we took the high quality steakhouses within a 5-mile radius, and we set up geo fences on the alley behind those steakhouses where the employees went to smoke. And we targeted their employees to steal their employees. We pulled the best of the best staff out of there with better offers and basically staffed this place with the top of the line people working in the best steakhouses. I mean, that's why people call me diabolical. So you can do some pretty cool stuff with this technology.
John, I thought you were a nice guy. You're diabolical.
I'm very nice as long as you're on the right side of my fence.
John, you're just very effective at using your tools.
Yeah. So I'm like, the biggest thing that I am, if you were to classify me as something that I was and put me in a box, I'd be a problem solver. That was just them. They had a problem. They had a problem staffing their restaurant. Like, okay, I have a solution for you. People have problems getting clients. Okay, I have a solution for you. People have a problem converting. Okay, I have a solution for you. I'm a problem solver.
I was excited when I heard about the geofencing last year when you did your traffic training. I was like, this is it. But since COVID, my industry no longer gathers in any place.
Yeah. Now
We're all online now.
Here's an interesting thing about that.
Yeah.
And it's coming to an end. I've had a massive advantage because, you know, these big data sources, like when I geo-target an area, the data is already there that I'm tapping into. I can go up to 1 year back. Like I can go back in a time machine and find out who was where up to a year in the rear. But that all pretty much ended last March. So at March, the bucket's going to be pretty empty. But it does. I can go back a year in that data from who was where in locations. It's stored.
So John, you could be a gazillionaire with just this one product for big businesses. Why aren't you advertising the crap out of it and just making money that way? Why are you dicking around with us?
Because you're way more fun. You're way
just
less.
Invite us on your boat. We can be fun there too.
You're way less work. No, I mean, really, you're right. I don't want to deal with those people. If I had sales staff that would want to go and do that, yeah, I could scale up money real fast. I just don't want to deal with it.
So do you have any clients that are doing this then? Or
yeah, we've got a fair number of clients. We've got some casinos in Las Vegas. We've got some car dealers. Like we have a Mercedes car dealer, and we did a case study on them in the first 90 days of doing this. We targeted the local Lexus dealer, another Mercedes dealer, a BMW, and I think a Maserati dealer that was in a 5-mile radius. So when people went on the lots, on those other car lots, we started hitting them with Mercedes ads, bringing them onto our car lot. And we sold, I believe the number was 74 Mercedes Benz in the first 90 days by doing this for this one dealership. All completely trackable back to our efforts.
so what does it cost us if we wanted to do this?
The cost is basically whatever the cost of the ads are. They're on average $10 to $15 a thousand. There's some minimums. You probably figure you're going to be, you know, somewhere definitely under 1,000 a month for everything. That's on the low end, and that's, you know, that's fairly affordable for most people that want to jump into something like this.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at the returns, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, when actors can return to acting class together and go on auditions in casting facilities, but we may never do that, because now that you can take an acting class from a New York teacher and vice versa, or people in Europe can, you know, it's never going back.
Yeah,
It's just
no,
never going back.
you are right. There's a lot of industries that are forever changed. There's some stuff that's just, even if you could wave a magic wand and have COVID be gone and have all the restrictions gone, the world's not going back to where it was.
No, you discovered the ease.
People have figured out that there's a better way. Like, look at Craig. Yeah, he'll do live events, but he's not going to stop doing what he's learned how to do over this last year. He's doing stuff now that I couldn't convince him to save my life to do a year ago.
I just don't know if he's making any money at it.
Oh, I think he is.
I think people have dropped like flies from his membership. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but he's making it up on other places that he wasn't doing before.
Yes, true that.
So John, we chatted when what she was saying about, somebody said, you know, watch the Emmys or whatever. Is there a way of, with people going online, has anybody yet figured out how, if they're doing an event,
Uh-huh.
do they have a way of tracking all the people that are viewing on their event online, but maybe aren't raising their hand or aren't interacting at all? But I mean, if I just click into an event, is there a way they know that I'm actually on the thing that I can,
Oh
those
yeah,
people on the event can then retarget all the people that watched their event?
absolutely. That's the retargeting industry. Like let's say, for instance, the television industry has been doing this for a long time. They know who's watching TV. They know, maybe not down to the specific person, but let's say they can look at where their station's being viewed. And this is how they sell ads. This, ads is based on eyeballs. So they can say, look, in the Huntington Beach area, we have a lot of Republicans. In Fountain Valley, there's a lot of Democrats. So they can sell that big data, and then they take a direct response company and they do mailers into those cities based on who's in the city. This has been going on for centuries. Well, not centuries with TV, but a long time.
But how do we get access to their information that they're using so that we can use it?
They sell it. Anybody in advertising sells it. There's all kinds of, like when I go into the traffic mode in the ACT program, it's not just online. There's all kinds of traffic sources. That traffic camp that I did, I covered a bunch of them, but I just scratched the surface. There's radio ads, there's TV ads, there's just within that genre, there's a million different categories. Every show has
more boot camps in the near future.
What's that?
Are you going to be doing any more boot camps in the near future?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've run them pretty often now. So, but yeah, I do a 2-day covering the ACT program. I do a 2-day covering the C part, the creation part, and I do a 2-day covering the traffic part. And
when's the next one?
I actually haven't got dates down, but now that you mention it, I should put them on my calendar, because I still have that promise to you guys that I'm still actually trying to make an effort to make 2021 a better year than 2020 even. So, and
aren't we all?
And that said, going back to what we talked about in December, remember my list of what I told you guys to look at? How many offers did you make? Well, we're coming to the end of January. Let's ask ourselves that every month now, instead of waiting till the end of the year. I think that'll help us do better along the way, so we don't get to the end of the year and go, oh, well, yeah, it's kind of dismal. If it's dismal in January and February, maybe March, you'll be inspired to make it not dismal. That way you don't get a year down the road and you're still stuck where you are now. But, how many offers, how many people did you get on your opt-in lists? How many things did you do that you should be doing? How many presentations?
Hey, John.
Yeah.
You put on your visionary ad for a minute, and where do you think this technology could work better for selling real estate?
The retargeting or the crowd targeting?
Yeah.
Well, you could basically target open houses. I know they're probably not doing a lot of open houses now, but you could also target, like, let's say you were doing this for real estate investors. They have conferences, they have conventions, they have gatherings of people, maybe not now, but typically in the past. And I'm sure they'll go back to it as well. You could target those events for the specific hours that those people are in the room, and you could collect a list that way, and you could retarget them with properties for investment. There's a ton of different ways. You just have to kind of get creative of looking at who you're targeting and where they're collaborating. Where do they gather? That's the whole key to crowd targeting, is figure out where does your flock gather? Like with fishing, I figure out where do those fish gather? I know they like temperature breaks. I know they like to be where the bait is because they like to eat. So that's what you got to figure out. Where do your people like to eat? What do they do? Where do they go? And then you target them there. Because you don't want to be fishing where there's no fish, right? That's not very effective, and it's not very friendly on the pocketbook either. So that's kind of what I would focus on, is figure out, and this goes for anything, whether you're doing crowd targeting or not. You've got to figure out where your audience is. If you have a young audience of millennials, they're not on Facebook. So by you running ads on Facebook trying to get them, you're just wasting money. If you have people that know about a particular problem or an issue and they're actively searching, like you do some keyword research and you got a gazillion people typing in particular phrases looking for exactly what you do, and you're not there, you're wasting money. You're not in the right place. You got to figure out where they are. In the ACT program, that's part of the pyramid of awareness. Like your audience, and the higher up the pyramid you go, the more aware they are. Like in the base of the pyramid, they're not aware. If somebody's not aware, they're not searching. So you're not going to capture those people by running pay-per-click ads. You're not going to catch them with organic SEO. They're not aware. They're not searching. So if you're going to target that big pool of people in the base of that pyramid of awareness, you have to figure out where they are, and it's not in search. They're not actively looking for you. If you go up the ladder, the next step up in the pyramid is they're aware of the problem. Generally, when they're aware of the problem, they're typing in particular keywords, or they're going on YouTube and they're searching for things related to their problem or their issue. Up the ladder, one more step on the pyramid, they're actually aware of solutions. They're aware of products. They're searching specifically for products that maybe are not yours. Maybe they're your competitors. Now you know where to advertise. You know what keywords to hit. You know how to get in front of them. And when you go up to the very top of the pyramid, those are the people that have made a decision they're going to buy. Maybe they haven't decided which product, but they're hunting at that point to make a purchase. They have credit card in hand. It's a much smaller piece. It's the top of the pyramid. But the buying cycle is the shortest that you're ever going to see. They're ready to buy right now, today. There's not as many of them. It's probably going to be, a harder battle to get them because, savvy advertisers are willing to pay a lot more to hit them at that point in the game. So does that make sense? You got to figure out where your people are. You got to figure out how to intersect them. That's a make it or break it. You could do everything else right and you miss that piece and you're shit out of luck. If you miss any of the pieces, if you miss any one of those 3 pieces of the ACT program, life's going to be tough. That's just...
So would I look for people that were leaving LA, like their searches could be like in Arizona, Oregon, Vegas.
Yeah. Now in the real estate arena, there's big data in real estate as well. There's a thing called in-market ads. And basically in-market ads, that's tapping into big data that knows people are in a buying purchase cycle. And you can buy data like that, like who's searching for real estate in Oregon, or who's in Oregon searching for real estate in LA. That would be a better target for you. Find out people that are out of state that don't know the area and be their helping hand. Tell them, oh, you know, not all LA is created equal. You want to be in the right part of LA. You get in the wrong part of LA. I know you're coming here for a job, so you need to be here. But if you don't pick the right part, you're going to be sad and sorry. Let me save you that heartache. That's, you know, have something that's very meaningful to them. Figure out what they want. They don't want to make a mistake, right? Nobody wants to make a mistake, especially purchasing a home. They might have to purchase a home in a particular area because they're relocating because of a job or whatever. And, you know, you're there to make sure they don't make that mistake. But again, that's a specific avatar. That's defining a specific avatar, figuring out the messaging, the music to their ears, and then bringing it to them. That's the A, the C, and the T all together in one slice. That's the whole pizza. Pizza with 3 slices.
Yeah, I know. We're having a flood of people leaving California. I think it was 1,750,000.
Wow.
So here's what you want to do. The most important thing of that is why. Why are they leaving? What's important to them? Because if you figure out why they're leaving, you'll figure out what's not only driving them away, but what they're pulling toward. And then you could create a lead magnet that said, you know, if you're looking for new career opportunities outside of California, I've got a guide that'll show you the top 3 cities in the US that you might want to consider. That would be a phenomenal lead magnet for you.
Yeah, nice.
So see what I mean? You got to figure out what and why. What is it that they want? Why do they want it? Maybe they're moving out of here because regulation is killing them in their business and they want to go somewhere where there's no regulation. You know, maybe they're a manufacturer and they're just getting driven out. And, you know, if you figure that out, you can say, hey, here's the 3 hottest cities in the US to allow manufacturing. You can go do whatever you want. And you'll be able to do it forever. You know, that's music to their ears. You got to figure out the what and the why. What do they want? Why do they want it? What's keeping them up at night? It's like, you know, you want secret sauce. It's pretty simple. That's it. That's the reason people buy stuff. They want stuff because they want it, but why do they want it? If you can figure out that, then you can make the right promise to them to seduce their heart. Grab their attention.
That's the information that big data has once you figure that out, or maybe they can help you figure that out.
Yeah. That's what you can tap into to figure out where they are and how to get to them. That's where big data comes in. That's like, you know, where they are and how to get to them. But you still have to figure out what those things are. What is it that they want? Why do they want it? If you could just go buy everything, everyone would do it, right? It's a simple game that's not easy.
Thank you, John. I'm going to go prospecting.
All right. Awesome.
Take care, everybody.
Okay. We'll see you, Janie.
Bye-bye.
All right. Anything else? Anybody else before we wrap up for today? Any other burning questions or?
Well, John.
I've got one.
Oh,
Probably-
go ahead,
probably
Linda.
We're probably giving you enough to blow your minds at this point.
It has sufficiently blown mine, John. How would I target, let's say, for instance, the major corporations that are moving out of California? One that comes to mind that's here in Los Angeles is Tesla. Tesla just moved up, just decided, Elon says, I'm out of here and I'm going to Texas. So how would I target many of his, like say, his employees, these are going to be homeowners that are going to need to sell their houses. They're going to go off to Texas and be with the corporation. And I can think of 3 or 4 other very high-end, very large corporations that are moving out of Silicon Valley. Same thing. How would you target these people? Because I'm looking at referral services or other things that I might be able to connect them with.
Sure. One of the places that's probably the richest source of data of where people work is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn probably has that data of who works where.
Okay.
That's going to be a good source, more than likely. Of all the places, of all the data sources I could think of, that one comes to mind right off the top.
Good information. Thank you.
Yeah, and you can go in, you can buy that data from LinkedIn too. You can run ads inside of LinkedIn and target them specifically. So say, Tesla employees moving to Texas. Hey, I've got the scoop for you. Whatever that might be.
I'm already thinking of the ad, John. Thank you. I didn't realize that I could buy that data from them, but that makes sense.
Yep. Big data, man, they make a lot of money. It's like one of the biggest businesses going right now.
And how do you not sound like most of the pukes that send stuff to you as soon as you get onto LinkedIn? So
that's where you just got to be smarter than the average bear. That's where you create your ad campaign. That's where your analysis really comes in handy. Like creating big ideas. Some of the best guys, like David Ogilvy, he said in his process of creating big ideas, none of them come from within him. None of them come out of his head. They all come out of his research. Big ideas, attention grabbers, they come out of the research that's done on the people that the ad is being created for. It's the analysis piece. That's why it's so important. Like when I teach the ACT program, 50% of the training is in analysis. It's in the first piece. Because if you miss the mark there, you're shot. You're dead in the water. The rest of it just won't match up. If you were, A, C, and T and ACT, if you take any one of them out of the puzzle, the building falls down. But the one that is probably the most important to get effective results is that A. It's the analysis, because everything's built upon that. The creation of the messaging is built on that. Your attention grabbers are built on that. Your seduction of the heart, your convincing of the head, all of that is based on the analysis. It's the building blocks. And if you're building without the blocks, you're just moving air around. You're not building anything. So your creation part, your construction part, you have to have the right building blocks to create something that's effective. And then you got to take it to the market. You need the traffic. So I know you guys have heard it over and over and over. I'm sorry if I just sound like a broken record, but it's the truth, and there's nowhere else I can go. I can't like make up new shit for you. It's not true.
Repetition is the mother of skill, John. It's all good.
So, John?
Yes, go ahead, Gregory.
So yeah, my dilemma for the last year, I've been like trying to identify that avatar. And last weekend, I attended a binary get together, the new arena that I'm going into, and my avatar showed up. It's the millennials, because they want it now, instantaneous. They walk around with their phones and they want the info now.
Mm-hmm.
Now the mentality is elevated to the point, I want my money now.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait for an options trade to clear out next week. I want the trade to finish out today. So but so the ACC is finally getting into my head, and it's going in the right direction. Thank you.
Yeah, starting to gel. I know that too, because I've got some nieces and nephews, and day trading is really kind of a popular thing with them. And it's because what you said, they want it now. They don't want to do traditional investing where, it's a 30-year plan. They want it now. They want to make money today. Like one of my nephews, it was his birthday yesterday, and I text him and I said, "How is it going?" And he said, "I'm just sick about it. I just played around today, and one of the stocks he was watching went up tenfold that day." He said he could have tenfolded his money with one day trade, and he was just sick about it. I'm
Yep.
like, "Yeah."
That's and then binary options is the same way. In binary options, one of my fellow classmates made 40% in one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
that's the
interesting.
cheese is moving.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been kind of playing around with cryptocurrencies, and one of the cryptocurrencies that I bought just in the last 24 hours has gone up 150%. It's like, wow, that's awesome. Crazy stuff.
And cryptocurrency trading is not the same as binary.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yes, that's the field. That's the cheese is moving, and I'm really trying to move on with it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. It's a whole new world we live in, man. Some of the stuff that I'm doing today, it wasn't even around if just a few years ago. It's a fast moving world, and moving even faster now with all the stuff going on in the world. So
In closing, I attended an event at OTA up the street from you in Irvine, and the instructor said the five revolutions are coming: bio, transportation, communication of 5G, AI, and I forgot the fifth one. But those five revolutions are coming, and they're going to be massive disruption. Transportation in particular, because he predicts in 5 years we're going to have driverless trucks.
yeah,
Therefore, all the trucking industry drivers are going to be gone,
yeah.
and then the result's going to be is with the trucks gone, and then switching from to diesel to electric, the oil industry is going to take a hit. So all the
Mhm.
oil industry people are going to be going out, and then the Walmart just announced that they're putting in robotics operations into their store so they can compete with Amazon for same day delivery.
Yeah,
Oh, robotics. That was it. That was number five was robotics.
yeah. Well, how about teaching those truck drivers? Taking a truck driver, somebody's going to make a class and make a killing on this. How about making a class for the truck drivers to teach them to become an investor instead of a truck driver, and buy these automatic driving trucks and own the truck that's going to make the money they're making now without their effort?
That's it. That's
And
the
they can,
genesis of going from disruption to a
yeah,
new world, a new brave world.
yeah. And think about it, a truck driver, how many trucks can he drive? One, right? How many can he own that make money for him? As many as he wants. It's scalable. And he's not thinking that way because he's a truck driver.
Well, my instructor said that he plans to buy a Tesla. No, yeah, he plans to buy a Tesla, but the Tesla in 5 years will be self-driving. That when he's at school, the Tesla can go on its own and be
Yeah.
a taxi for him to help pay for the Tesla and go charge itself up and come back to the school and pick him up to take him home. And
Yeah.
then when he goes to bed at night, the Tesla then will be available to go out for night runs. So the drunk at 2 o'clock in the morning can be picked up by the Tesla. And if he spills his stuff in the car, well, then the car is going to lock him up and take him to jail.
Oh, that's classic. Good stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap her up here for today. Let you guys get back with it. I don't want to keep you here all day.
I smell cookies.
But thank you all for being on here. Great stuff, great direction. I think a lot of value in today's conversation for sure, and a lot of different angles. So good luck, get out there, make some offers, make some progress, and let's make sure that when we get to the end of the year, when we get to December, we've got a better story than we had last year. Even if you had a great 2020 like I did, let's have a better 2021.
Thanks, John.
All right, guys, have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks.
Be good.